So many lorries, so much work, but where are the drivers? Hi, I'm Lawrence and I work here at the National Driving Centre. We're going to bring you a three-part mini-series on the well-reported driver shortage. Today we're going to start with episode 1, which is why is there a driver shortage? Let's head inside and find out why. What's that big event? 2020. It's in the news a lot. COVID, coronavirus, of course. Let's start by addressing the pink elephant in the corner of the room with the suspect cough. Coronavirus, big talking point in 2020. We're going to start with it because, as you'll see as we move on, it affects everything. It interlinks with everything. So the LGV driver shortage pre-2020, coronavirus, remember those times, was an estimated 60,000 drivers, which is already pretty hefty. Now, as we stand in 2021, it is up to an eye-watering 100,000 drivers needed to fully supply the UK haulage and logistics industry, which is massive. So that's why we're starting with coronavirus, because it links to everything. Let's think back to early 2020. Pre-worldwide meltdown from coronavirus. What else was happening? Well, I'm afraid it's that single word along with coronavirus that we are sick to the back teeth of. But I'm going to bring it up anyway, and I'm apologising in advance. Do you know what it is yet? You do. Brexit. Everyone's favourite topic is back on the menu. So obviously Brexit does impact the HGV, LGV lorry driver shortage. The UK has historically always relied upon a healthy number of EU workers, skilled workers with lorry licenses coming over and helping us out because of the driver shortage. When coronavirus rolls around, coupled with Brexit, so they compound with each other, restrictions of movement, total lockdowns, as of the 31st of January 2020, free movement, we're not part of the single market anymore. It is hard for these skilled EU drivers to come in, join us, to move everything around. In 2020, reportedly, there are 15,000 less EU workers in the UK. That's going to leave a bit of a hole. So ultimately, again, this is a causation of the lorry driver shortage. Brexit. Next. IR35. What's IR35, Lawrence? I hear you all ask. Well, I'm going to tell you simply how it affects what we're talking about, the lorry driver shortage. There is a mountain of information on this for different varying reasons, and it's effectively how people are employed. So what would happen pre-April 2021, it was pushed back a year. So this was supposed to come in effect on April 2020, but it's come back a year because there were obviously other things going on in April 2020. IR35 is not the topic at all. So, use myself an example. Previously, what would happen? I'm going to go and do some work for somebody as a driver. I would set myself up as a limited company. I would be the only driver within that company, and I would go and do my work. Company that I'm working for will pay my company, and my company will pay me. Now, I'm not going to say that they pay less tax, but it's a more tax efficient way of doing things. So that's why people used to do it. It's a financial loophole. And with any financial loopholes that exist, the government, HMRC, they're onto you. They're going to have a look and they're going to find out eventually, and that's exactly what's happened. So whereas previously drivers were getting a bigger piece of the pie, it has changed because HMRC have got involved and they said, hang on a second, you need to be paying the same amount of tax as everybody else, and there are now tests in place to work out whether somebody actually is a limited company or they're just using this funky loophole to get more money into the back pocket. But again, we're not here to condone or condemn, we're just here to point out. But using an example of this to what we've already said, Brexit and COVID, here's potentially how it links, or here's a theory. You're an EU driver, you're holed up back home on the continent, weather's a little bit hotter, a bit nicer, waiting out for COVID, and you're then looking at us back in the UK and thinking, actually now might not be as financially lucrative to come back. I've now got all of these barriers to get through in Brexit and COVID, I might just stay where I am. IR35 is also a big causation, or certainly an underlying causation, of the LGV driver shortage. Causation number 4 is conditions and pay. Poor pay and working conditions is an all too familiar statement for those working in the LGV industry, or used to be. The glory days, the good old days, back in the days where it was a well-regarded trade. You're delivering vital components to construction sites, supermarkets, so on and so forth. The introduction of more technology as time has gone on, more technological jobs are out there. So the youth of today, the 21st century, are taking up those jobs as they might seem a little bit more glamorous. So we're not getting that young, fresh talent coming into the industry to replace the slightly older generation. The Road Haulage Association says that the average age of an LGV driver is 55 years old. Some say the pay has never been overly special for the level of work and responsibility that you have as a lorry driver. That is changing, which we will go on to later in the next videos. However, we did make a YouTube video on how much lorry drivers earn and do they like their job, with fairly surprising results. We will do a link in the description below to have a look at that after this. But pay is another reason, potentially, from the outside looking in to the industry, why there is an LGV driver shortage. Number 5. Bit tough, that one. DVLA strike. Wait, the DVLA are on strike? How come I haven't heard that in the news? Well, not yet. It hasn't hit mainstream news yet. The lorry driver shortage is in mainstream news, front page news, because it's affecting people getting Haribo, fuel, milk, bread, and that's where it really matters. To understand the DVLA strike more, you're going to have to understand who the DVLA are. They are the licensing agency. DVSA is standards agency, testing. The DVLA are licensing agency. Effectively, these guys in Wales, Swansea, anything which drives or you as the driver are involved, they're involved. New licenses, all the way to your car tax, they will be involved. The DVLA strike itself, you guessed it, broken record here, I know, is COVID related. So in 2020, DVLA, like everybody else as an organisation, had challenges. They have a workforce of 6,000 down there in Wales, lovely people doing the work that they do. 600 of those contracted COVID. There's 600 positive cases. So that's 10% of the workforce. Doesn't sound substantial. However, when you then put in the mix, 535 of those cases were in September 2020 to January 2021. So in the space of 4 months, they had 535 out of 600 cases. Something, they say, went wrong. So the unions get involved and they then start talking about a series of walkouts, a series of strikes, because of the lack of COVID safety measures that the DVLA put in or didn't put in. Again, I'm going to toe the fine line, dance the fine line of impartiality here, because obviously we have a vested interest in this, but we will stay straight down the line with you. They are obviously not happy, which you understand why. The facts. Here's a statistic for you. 60,000 pieces of mail are received at the DVLA every single day. Imagine the post room. Imagine the post room. 60,000 arrive every single day. Now, the DVLA have said on Twitter and on all their socials that online services are unaffected. Fantastic. So why has this arrived on our board then? It's not affecting anything. Here's the kicker. Those 60,000 pieces of paper that they receive, or items of correspondence they receive, there's a lot of lorry applications in there, because that's the only way you could apply to become a lorry driver, to then breathe fresh air and new blood into the industry. So, here's an example. I want to be a lorry driver. I'm a medical. I fill out my forms. I then send it to the DVLA. If 60,000 is arriving every day and people are on stage walkouts, things aren't getting processed. Let's have a look now online as to what is exactly going on and the wait times.
Right, after you turn 70, you need to renew your licence every 3 years. Lovely. Here we go. Application sent in by post can take up to 6 weeks to process. Now, this is double, if not maybe triple, the usual time that it takes for this to process. There is no need to contact us in the meantime. I imagine that their phone lines are very busy with lots of angry people asking where their licenses are. Let's click on the link. And DVLA coronavirus COVID-19 update. Where's my application? That looks like a nice place to start. Where's my application? More chat on the strike. Yep, understandable. Paper applications. Hang on a second. Are likely to take 6 to 10 weeks to process. That's not what it said.
6 weeks, 10 weeks, many weeks. Either way, it's obviously going to have an effect on this. Short term, it means that you're going to have to take the passport out when you want to go to that nightclub when it all opens up again. The long term obviously affects this. Everything is bottlenecking. Applications are coming in thick and fast. People want to help. I want a lorry job. I know that there's money out there and jobs to be had, but they're just not getting through. DVLA strike is a big underlying issue for what is going on right now. Last one. DVSA and testing. Did you know there are 43,000 new test passes every year from lorry tests? Last year, the DVSA didn't test for nearly 8 months of the year outside of critical workers. Now, that's 27,000 plus tests that never happened. 27,000 new drivers that never made it to road. Let's summarise. As we've run through with each individual one of these, which then interlinks into something else, everything has a cause and effect, which ultimately impacts the lorry driver shortage. This is video 1. We're going to move on to video 2 and 3, where we're going to discuss what's happening out there, all the way from bread, milk, Haribo not arriving on the shelves, people, driver wages, companies, and then on to video 3. Where we're going to talk about solutions or possible solutions. My name is Lawrence, I'm from the National Driving Centre, and we will see you in the next video.